Hello viewers, you are welcome to this week's edition of your popular program Broadview, reaching you live from Heritage Television in London. Today my guest is Mr. Ayo Ogundimu, all known as CitizenAY. Recently Mr. Ogundimu was on this program, and I could remember that time that was during the results of the presidential election, and he advocated that Nigerian students, especially the primary pupils, that they should be taught about the constitution of Nigeria. His view was widely accepted by all and sundry. We received series of calls about that statement that if Nigerians were actually aware of their responsibility, their constitutional right, most of the anomalies or perhaps some mistakes that the voters we have been doing persistently over the years will be things of the past. So you do mention that citizens need to be educated about their citizenship right. Now today is what we are going to discuss. Mr. Ogundimu, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
How are you today?
Good thing.
Thank you very much indeed. You really remember last time when you advocated that Nigerian citizens should be educated. Indeed about their constitutional right. You emphasize that this should be done at the primary level.
Indeed.
I want to ask you what led to that idea.
Back in 2017, I went back home to Nigeria. I hadn't been for about 10 years. So I went back home to see my relatives. And then of course, one of my mom actually was not really well. Had health issues, severe health issues. So we tried to get doctors and things, and it was no joy, nothing was happening. In the end, we tried to go and look for some people. Said, oh, try this guy, try that person, and they might be good, and have a list or whatever. We tried them, and in actual fact, it ended up costing us a lot of money, and they didn't do anything. And when we tried to get the police involved, the police were saying no. Well, they give us some more money, before we do anything. So then it just suddenly, that was when the penny dropped for me, that I realized, whoa, hang on, what's happening? So what's this? What safety networks are there for the citizens of Nigeria, for ordinary citizens? Now that's me. Now I've lost a lot of money. I've heard of cases where people have lost not even 1/10 of what I lost, and they've jumped into the lake, in Lagos, they've into the river, literally. So, it just got me thinking, okay, look, this is not about myself personally now, this is about Nigerians. I started asking questions. From there I started saying, okay, look, what do we know about our rights? Why can't we have health care? Why can't we have safety? Why is it that the policeman will ask you money for the job he's supposed to do? Then I started asking, well, do we know our rights as we do in a foreign country? Do we know our rights? And that led me to start digging and digging. Then I came across the Nigerian Constitution. And then from there, I decided, okay, this is something I want to get involved in. And that's basically how, it started off.
Thank you. It's like regarding this, when you mention it, some of our viewers who have actually spoken with me were asking me, because in your statement I couldn't remember precisely how the phrase was, how you phrase it. It's like, did you set up have you launched a campaign perhaps?
I have a program on my platform. If anybody would like to join me, just go to CitizenAY, type in CitizenAY, and you will see it on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on Twitter. So if you just type in CitizenAY Constitutional Awareness Action Group, that's within my CitizenAY. There's a group there. I've got about almost 300 people now who have joined me. And what we do in that group is we are reading the Constitution on a week-to-week basis, give or take, health allowing. I read that, and I get people to come and join me and read that, read the Constitution. And I then share that, and I encourage people to just tell their friends and family to listen to what we read. And also I encourage people to go down to, I have a website, it's called CitizenAY, www.citizenay.org. On that website, I've got the Nigerian Constitution. So when you go on the Constitution on that website, the first thing you will see is the Constitution. You just click on it, you download it, put it on your phone, shared among your friends and family. We have to have this constitution become second nature to each and every Nigerian from the age of 4. It has to happen, because we are making bad decisions without having this information. We are making collectively bad decisions. You see, the tragedy of it is this. When you have Nigerians that are educated, quote unquote, doctors, lawyers, scientists, whatever, and they get the qualification, they struggle to get that qualification, and they end up in Nigeria becoming cleaners, house boys, you know, and not being able to be aware of their rights. To say, instead of me trying to leave the country, I can be in Nigeria there, knowing my rights, combining that with my expertise, my talents, I can be the best I can in Nigeria. And that's the tragedy of the situation. That is why I am on this drive. I'm asking everybody to join me. We're shortly trying to make sure that we reach 200 million Nigerians, in the sense that we have to have the constitution also, not only in English, but in our local languages. Because people don't need to have to understand English first to know their rights. As soon as you're born, you should be taught this right in your language, to make sure that you can stand up to all of these people coming from federal government or from local government and giving you 5,000 naira. If you know your right, you wouldn't accept it. I'm sorry, I'm really passionate about it, but this is something that I believe that if we're going to change Nigeria, it starts with the knowledge base of our citizens. We must know our rights collectively.
Thank you very much indeed. It's like this program you mentioned now, looking at it, because basically I believe it's going to be something that will require enormous resources.
It will.
You are going to sit people down. People are going to take into constitution. You do mention that you want it to be translated into
languages.
Is it local languages? Is it 3 major languages of all the 200 plus languages in Nigeria?
Initially, to make it realistic, we've got to start off with the 3 languages first. Because I believe once you get into the main languages, Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, once you have that, and then it goes and that filters into the villages. And the key thing is it's got to reach into the villages and the and all of those far-flung areas where it's difficult for people to get to. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to do in the villages. We know they haven't got data, and they haven't got electricity, but they do have access to playing DVD, and they have access to maybe being able to read a book in their language. So those 2 things are the things we're looking for, to be able to translate the language, the constitution, into our local language, those 3 main languages, Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, and be able to distribute it in small pamphlets, particularly the section that talks about the rights of the citizens, so that people start being aware of their rights from an early age, whatever they are in Nigeria. It's gone for too long. People are aware of the Bible and the Quran, but they don't know their rights, and it's harming Nigerians. After 58 years, we need to do something different. We have to. So that's a drive. I mean, there are issues around the funding that I'm trying to do. Shortly, we're trying to organize a GoFundMe thing whereby people can donate to this project. And I'm talking to a few other partners whereby they want to come and invest. There's a group that they're talking about maybe doing something to do with having halls in certain neighborhoods, and people can go in that hall and they can then send that program to them maybe once or twice a week. So I'm in discussions with people along that line. But we need to look at all avenues to make sure that we wake up Nigerians, because we're in 2019. The system of governance we have in Nigeria has failed, and it's failed principally because Nigerians are not aware of their rights, and that's a fact.
Thank you very much, CitizenAY. I haven't said or haven't shed more light on this information, because it's like the constitution itself is not a pamphlet, it's a booklet.
Yes.
And most of all this section is enormous.
Yes.
So now, are you going to engage writers, or perhaps you are going to be, which part of the Nigerian language are you very, conversant that you are expertise in writing? I'm comfortable writing in Yoruba. Maybe not so much with all the signs and everything. With time I can get that. But there's another way I can do it, whereby I can still get that in there. And in fact, I've started doing that on my CitizenAY page and the Constitutional Awareness Group. What I do is I've started doing from section 1, and I translate it in Yoruba,
and I read it sometimes, and I translate it in Igbo. There's a friend who will try and read the Igbo for me, and then the Hausa one. Now, the Hausa one is a little bit more complicated because the language that is that my translator goes into is slightly different from what the people on the streets might speak. So I'm conscious I don't want people to end up not understanding what is being said. So I'm reluctant to be saying that. But if the people who are from the Hausa culture, or if you're Hausa, please get in touch. Join CitizenAY. We need this. We need each and every one of us, north, south, east, and west. This is a call, clarion call for all of us. Let's get on board. We make our people aware, we will have a great nation. But it's only when we collectively do this work together.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, the website, I want you to repeat the website again for the interest of those maybe who are just joining us. Let them hear the website and then let people know the slogan of that program, because when you said it last time, it's something that some of the other panelists who are with me were saying, oh, this is a fantastic idea. Then I was surprised, and women, men, parents were calling and say, what this man said in your program, it's a fantastic idea, but it's like the information was not enormous. That was the reason why we have to call. I mean, we have to invite you and make this program. So what I want you to do, please, I'll give you more time. I'll be drawing your attention to you. Can you again mention the website again and whatever information you can give about the website.
Okay.
I'm giving you that free.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, the website is www.citizenay.org. And I'll say it again slowly. www.citizenay.org. That is the website. And on that website, the first thing, when you click on the website, the first thing you will see is the green. There's a green background with the white writing, Nigerian Constitution. Just tap on that Constitution, and it will come straight up, and it takes you straight into the Nigerian Constitution. And what I want Nigerians to do with that is to start beginning reading. If your father, your mother, read it. It's your right. Your rights are contained in there. It will empower you to be able to ask the senators, the House of Reps, your president, your ministers. It will enable you, empower you to hold them to account. The Bible or the Quran, I'm sorry, it will not do that for you. They won't empower you such as this Constitution will. And I know people think it's far-fetched, but that's the place for all of us to start. So anyway, I just wanted to just say that. The other thing I wanted to mention is I have there's a group called the Constitutional Awareness Action Group. CitizenAY Constitutional Awareness Action Group. So I'll say that again slowly. CitizenAY Constitutional Awareness Action Group. I call it CAG. So CCAAG. And it's within my CitizenAY platform. And there are people who are joining. So please, if you can, join. We need Nigerians, particularly if you are in diaspora and you are enjoying the benefits of water, light, hospitals, safety, police, you name it, in diaspora. We are enjoying this. We know good roads when we see it. We know good healthcare when we see it. We know good banking system when we see it. If you are enjoying all that, instead of you having to send money home to a system that's failing, join us. Join the CAG. Contribute. Let's begin to work to build our nation. We can do this. We must focus on solutions. We must think of solutions. Just thinking we're going to pray. Prayer will not solve our problems, but working together will. So please do go to www.citizenay.org, download the Constitution from there, and also join the CitizenAY Constitutional Awareness Action Group. And by the way, if you notice at the end it says Action Group, it's a nod to the late Awolowo, the great man, the great Nigerian man who created the Action Group back in the early 60s, if I'm correct, to try and bring Nigerians. He formed this around that time when they were getting independence, if I'm correct. So what we're trying to do now, we need to re-energize our people, and we start from the ground up. Each of us need all of us. Let's get on board this journey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ogundimu, for your explanation. But there are some critics who are of the view that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is already there, unlike some people argue that this present Constitution that we're even having there's an issue with it because this is the constitution being given to us by the military. That even our National Assembly or perhaps no any one of the senators or president member of the both houses have raised the issue of maybe this constitution should be reviewed, should be critically reviewed. Is it this constitution, this present one that people have actually been having issue with, is what you are calling for is awareness, or maybe perhaps when it's being reviewed, have you agreed with all the section of the constitution?
No. I'm the first to tell you that there is a section in this constitution which I found appalling. I think it's section 24, if I'm correct. And in there, it talks about that any woman married shall be deemed to be of adult age. I think it's section 24, if I'm correct. And that is horrifying. What that means in layman's term is that anybody could marry an 8-year-old, and the minute they are married, it means that they are now going to be considered to be an adult, which means that they are conferred the right to vote. So that is absolutely an anomaly that we cannot allow to stand in any way, shape, or form. So there are plenty of areas within this constitution where things are wrong. But let's not. There's a saying in Yoruba, you know, in a language, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, all that kind of thing. So we have to think about the good bits of this constitution, flawed as it is, and concentrate our efforts. Because what we need, the key here now is not whether or not something is perfect. It's the empowerment of the people of Nigeria to finally know their rights and know the type of questions they must ask those in power. Those in power have demonstrated repeatedly over and over that they do not want to yield one iota to give the people of the nation the benefits of the enormous resources, the wealth that we have. All they are interested in is to tell people to pray and never to give them any infrastructure whatsoever. So it is now incumbent on Nigerians as to whom sovereignty, and it states it, and that's more reason why I talk to Nigerians. Sovereignty belongs to each and every Nigerian. And unless you know that, you will not understand your stake in your governance. You need to know that sovereignty belongs to you, and the governance, people you elect into office, they are working for you on behalf of you. You put them there by your voting at the ballot box. So the power belongs to you. And never let anybody tell you that, oh, no, the government is all high and mighty. No, the people have the power. Government by the people, for the people. That's what it is. So, and we need to, unless we begin to bring back this knowledge, and we need to start young. Start with our kids in the evenings. One of the things I'm looking at is to, as I said earlier on, the idea of teaching in groups in the evenings. I want that to happen with adults, so that people can be learning when they come back from work in the evenings, and then the kids, when we teach them in the morning, and never leave home. Another thing I'll say to Nigerians, never leave home without your constitution. Never. Never leave home without your constitution in your pocket, because it would affect every part of your life.
Thank you very much indeed. Basically, this constitution is not actually a new, something that's been there over the years.
Yes.
Look at, for instance, I remember on the last program whereby when we were discussing regarding that most people, unlike this voting issue, let's go back to the voting issue. We are coming back.
Yes.
On a number of occasions, there are some kind of accused finger being pointed out to the politicians that they are the problem behind. They are the problem behind most of the problems that usually happen during the election. We all know what happened in the last general election, whereby even some states whereby the election has to be inconclusive and so on and so forth. And most of these were actually the action of the electorate.
Yes.
Do you believe that the constitutional awareness could solve this problem?
Absolutely, 100%. A simple proof of what I'm saying. Just look at, I will use the Quran and the Bible. As you all know, from the age of 4 in Nigeria, every family will either go to church on Sundays or go to the mosque on Friday, and you go with the children. And then whilst the adults are reading or receiving sermon from the pastor or from the imam in the mosque, the children are put in one section and they are being taught about the Bible. So the first signs of knowledge for kids is that area. That's the first source of knowledge for them. So you build that up already. So people already have an inkling of that. The simple fact is, when you go and look at the our constitution, there is no such plan in place anywhere. There used to be a point whereby at one point you could be able to learn this in school, but it's all been phased out over time. It's been phased out. But now, as we speak right now, there is nowhere where you have the same kind of representation for the Quran and the Bible. The constitution hasn't got that in the lives of people. So there is no connection for the people to their daily lives with their constitution. So that the questions people go, the reason why people go to church or to the mosque, they go to church because there's no light, there's no healthcare, there's no water, there's no roads, there's no school. So they say, who's going to help us? Oh, let's pray. So they pray. Because they say, okay, if we pray, maybe somebody will get into the mind of the person who's in power and give us the light in our area. But what they should really be doing is knowing their constitutional rights and then knowing to who they go to. They don't have to speak to the president. You don't need to speak to the president to get what you need. You need to start speaking to your local representatives, your councillors, your ward councillors, your House of Reps, your House of Senate. They are the ones you need to put your pressure on. Because the president is only one man. But these people are all over the country. And the rights, your rights, you have the right to demand it from them as laid down in that constitution. But without using that, without reading that constitution and understanding how to use it, we will be going around. We've been going around in circles in Nigeria for 58 years. So that's why I'm saying to you, if we give the constitution that chance to grow in the mind of the youth from the age of 4, I guarantee you, if we started now, in 10 years, you will see a marked difference in the mental thinking. Our mindset will change in Nigeria. Certainly for the younger ones. The older ones will catch up over time. But the younger ones they are the focus for me now. The 16 to 20-year-olds, because of the next election, we need them on board. Those ones are the ones we should focus for 2023. But the 4-year-olds, we are building. It's like you're building a platform so that when they now get to that age, they are aware of their rights. It's part of them. Our mindset is corrupted by this religious nonsense. I'm sorry to say it. You can pray in your own time. There's nothing wrong with praying. I advocate it. Pray as a Christian, in your own time. But when people are telling you to pray instead of fixing the roads, I'm sorry, that's madness.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Ogundimu. During the last general election, you featured prominently among supporting one of these new political parties. I don't want to mention them now.
Yes.
And we can be able to see that the new political parties were so enormous. There were many.
Yeah.
And some people were advocating that why can't these political parties come up? They have a lot of ideas. Why can't they come up, team up together, and champion their own ideologies now? Because you can see that their votes were divided, and it's like most of all these parties that even have large numbers of followers, due to the fact that this vote had been divided, they find it very difficult for their impact to their efforts to have any impact. So what is your take on that?
There's two things. This election, and that's my, there was a guy who was on TV yesterday, when he happens to be part of APC, by the way, and he said that the election, that the recent one, they had to postpone some elections in Kano. And he said that was no election, it was a selection. He said that it was rigged and everything else. I'll try and see if I can remember his name in the second half of the podcast. But that, for me, it epitomizes what's happened in our election in Nigeria. We never had elections. What we've had is a selection, a process of selection, which has largely cut out the impact that ordinary Nigerians would have had on this process. The sad thing, what's even more worse about it, is that the electorate to whom power to elect belongs, they were denied that right because they were made to be afraid of their lives. Anytime you try and go for an election in Nigeria and you are fearful for your life, you are fearful that somebody is a thug will come and attack you, or someone will shoot you, that's not an electoral process. That's a process of fear. And so let's really, I really want that to be very, very clearly understood by Nigerians. It's a process of selection, and if we are going to change something, That's where we need to start. We cannot allow this kind of process to ever happen again. And that goes back down to Nigerians knowing their rights. So that's one thing I would say. Now, going back to the issue of the young aspirants going for the election. Unfortunately, I'm going to put them into two sections. The guy who I'm supporting, I'm not going to mention his name because I think it's probably better. But everybody knows that there's a party. There was one particular party that went to 34 different states in Nigeria. So, and he did a fantastic job reaching as many Nigerians on the grassroots. We know that. And then there are the others. And they were, there was a former banker, the deputy bank of Nigeria governor in their midst, and other people. And unfortunately, many of those people, when they formed something called the pact, okay, let's just, and they wanted to sort of come together and under one coalesce under one umbrella. What actually happened was many of these young aspirants, unfortunately, they had affiliations to APC or PDP in many instances. And in fact, when they were doing the presidential elections, one person who we never heard of threw his weight behind the PDP presidential candidate at the last minute. So his vote apparently went to him. But this was a man that we didn't even know of. So what I'm saying here, what am I saying? What I'm saying is that the young aspirants who came up and said they were really going to work for the people, in actual fact, in many cases, regrettably, many of them had affiliations to parties that are now vying for power, but that is to say APC and PDP. So in actual fact, it was an illusion. So there was no really, there was any idea that they were going to try and form a coalition and then take on them was an illusion. And that was why my guy, the man I support for my party, I don't want to mention, but you all know who I'm talking about. He was right in an adamant, and he was. I'm really grateful he stuck to his principles. And we all know that like I said, because election, it was not an election but a selection.
Is it within the new parties?
Well, no. I'm talking about the general election now. Now the new parties. Firstly, for
selection,
what I'm talking about, the results. I'm talking about the results of the elections now, the overall elections now. So what I'm saying is that the
large number of people turn out to collect,
they did, but there are so many videos out there where ballot boxes were snatched, thugs came and hit people. I mean, there are so many people who are using thumb printing. There are so many things. I'm not
going into that.
Okay.
Let us look at the reason why most of these new parties, young men, find it extremely difficult to come together.
Well, it's not until we have the platform where those in power are not sending out false candidates, because in effect the many of the young aspirants have turned out to be false candidates. When you go and look at their antecedents, you find that they have some kind of connection to either the main party, the ruling party, or the opposition party. And that is the real problem. The people who are going to come forward now in the next elections, they must not only say that they are independent, but they must demonstrate that by their affiliations, by where they're getting their funds, by in so many ways to make Nigerians know we are completely separate, and there must be no connection between them and those main political party and the opposition. And that's unfortunately in too many of the cases that was happening. Maybe one or two was actually free, but there were too few in number, and one of them would be the guy who I'm supporting, like I said. So, but I mean, we have a lot of work to do in Nigeria, and again, this goes back. This is why I say, this is not a job. Nigerians were looking for messiahs where there are none. You can't expect one person to do the job that 200 million people must do. That is to say, if you just say, oh, this man is good, let's just put him in power, without understanding what your rights are and how you can demand those rights, then there's no point in appointing that man as to be your next president, because you're not empowering him through your own actions. You need to be involved as Nigerians in taking control and participating in your own governance. That is to say, when the government official says we are going to build the road in my area in 6 months, come 6 months, that road is not there. Put a petition together. Bring him to the sit down and demand why he hasn't done it, and start quoting sections within the Constitution that demands that states his responsibilities, and he must explain why he has failed. That's what we need to do. But without knowing those rights, we can't fight for it. This is a job that all of us must get involved in. I'm asking you, please join me, CitizenAY. Join me on www.citizenay.org. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, CitizenAY, regarding this issue, because it's like I asked this question that how did the people, I mean the other political parties, new political parties, young men who has enormous experience in all their field of callings, was able to find it difficult to come together. Do you think that come 2023, is it not going to repeat the same thing? Because people were looking at perhaps when they didn't get it right at this time, in the next 4 years, election has come, people have seen that, okay, we haven't seen any form of alliance, we haven't seen any of being coming together, doing something, or perhaps creating any awareness. It's like the political party after the election now, all the parties have gone to bed, every one of them are arrested, except the leading two major political parties. The leading ruling party, APC, and then the opposition party, PDP, who had basically tasted the power for good 16 years. So now, these new political parties, what is their activities now? Then what do you think that the same issue will not happen in 2023 when the time for another election?
The political parties, currently the new political parties now, they have a lot of work to do. And again, I think anybody that's going to run for elections in 2023, particularly the young aspirants, if you're going to come in, can I suggest that you start getting involved in your local areas, on the ground, coming up with solutions to the problems of the people in your area. Don't think you are going to go and be a president or whatever. You know, I'm talking generally now here. Let's begin now. If you want to fix your area and you believe in your party, fine. But I want Nigerians, particularly in diaspora, we need to begin to now connect with our local communities on the ground and start planning to fix the problems that are the 8-0 problems of lack of power, lack of healthcare, all of that stuff. Now, when you start doing that, you can now start promoting your parties. That's just my own idea of what we should be doing at that level. Because unless we, like you said, the problem now is if we just carry on as things are, nothing will change, because the people who are in power now will remain in power. But to change the dynamics, it will require what I'm talking about again, making Nigerians, 200 million Nigerians, know their rights. I need support on that area to keep banging on this message. If the government, I'm even willing, if the government wants to join in and begin a program of empowering Nigerians using radio, TV, using internet, using all means to make sure every Nigerian in every corner of the nation knows their rights. If the government is sincere and they want to come on board, I will work with the government. I'm happy to do so. This is not a personal gain for me. It's to see a better country. But if we don't have a government that is not putting the interest of the people at the heart of its plans, we're going nowhere. So the people, the young people, what I suggest to you is the youth who are going to be running, first, get your plans in place, re-strategize and look at what the people need. You need to communicate and engage with people on the ground. Then start promoting your ideas, but make sure that people are aware of their rights. And we have to empower people to ask questions. Nigerians are not good at asking questions. So if we don't change that, until we change that mindset, if we go to 2023 and nothing changes, I can tell you now that the elections will come up with the same results. Different, it might be the party in opposition that's in power and the party that's in power going away, but it still be essentially the same thing we're talking about. But it starts with the young parties. We have a lot of work to do on the grassroots. We need to tap into the grassroots, bypassing. We might as well, I'm sorry to say this, we haven't got governance. We haven't got governance in Nigeria. And it pains me to say that as a citizen of Nigeria, to say that we haven't got governance that are looking out for the interests of Nigerians. So that is the gap that the young aspirants can step into with a program of plan to remedy the many failings of those parties in power and in opposition, putting those plans in front of the people, encouraging people to ask questions, empowering them. That's my plan going forward. I'm sure there's more to it, but that's the kind of the framework I'm looking at. I haven't got all the answers, but that's what I'm thinking of. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you very much, indeed, Mr. CitizenAY. We would like to go on commercial break. When we're back, we will intensify our effort ensuring that now we go to commercial break to the commercial department.
Tolu A. Akinyemi, a renowned poet, author, and performer, brings to us Dead Cats Don't Meow, a metrical masterpiece which invokes love and respect for life. Dead Cats Don't Meow is his first published work and third collection in his poetry for the Discerning series, after Dead Lions Don't Roar and Dead Dogs Don't Bark. Tolu shares his gift of writing with people far and wide. Recently, he received an endorsement as a writer with exceptional talent from the Arts Council England. Each poem examines a part of life, a sensation, a reaction, or an emotion. Individually, the verses breathe their own beat, while the collection knits together perfectly to present an idyllic anthology. Dead Cats Don't Meow is written to help you find your own voice in a world with a cacophony of voices. Join Tolu A. Akinyemi at one of the 4 events to celebrate the launch of Dead Cats Don't Meow. Thursday, April 4, 2019, 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at the Poetry Cafe, the Poetry Society, 22 Betterton Street, Covent Garden, London. Saturday, April 13th, 2019, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Museum Center, Function Room, 8 and 9 Marina Road, Onikan, Lagos, Nigeria. Thursday, May 2, 2019, 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. The Leeds and Phil, 23 Westgate Road, Newcastle upon Tyne. Thursday, May 9, 2019, 5:45 p.m. to 7:15 p.m. The Avenue Library and Learning Center, 9 Victoria Avenue East, Blackley, Manchester. RSVP tolutoludo.com. Dead Cats Don't Meow is available at Waterstones, Barnes & Noble, eBay, Amazon, Patabar, and other outlets.
Quick break.
Before we go on commercial break, we are basically looking at the 2 political parties, the 2 major political parties in Nigeria. Other political parties comes up, new political parties registered, and a lot of experienced Nigerians, young, vibrant, professionals in all their various calling, trying also to conduct, contest for the highest office. But sadly, what some of the observers were saying, that why can't most of these aspirants come together under one umbrella of one political party that would make it bigger, stronger, then they could be able to rescue power as we basically intended, what they intended to do. Now, I've actually asked CitizenAY with some of his explanation that these political parties, they find these aspirants find it difficult to come together because of various interests and which they had. That even some of the local parties, you said some of them were even not really interested. Not really serious political parties that are really pretenders.
Exactly.
But now, your own constitutional awareness campaign, which you embark upon now. My question is that, do you believe that is going to solve the problem?
It's not. Nigeria has so many problems. This constitutional awareness is one part of the jigsaw puzzle. The other part of it is we need to relook at the real independence of INEC. INEC, I'm afraid, were a party that was compromised from the beginning. You cannot have a party, an INEC that hours to go to an election suddenly postpones the elections that they were been trying to prepare for 4 years. And then suddenly, oh, too many inconclusive results, ballot papers missing, things, you know, that shows systemic failure. So, yes, constitutional awareness for the citizens is a must. And I would say to you, as an individual, if you're in Nigerian, you owe it to yourself and to your family and to the coming generations to get on board this journey now. Begin to empower yourself, your family, and your friends. You might not think it's making a difference, but I'm telling you, in 4 years, if we all embark upon this, those in power will know that Nigerians, millions of Nigerians know their rights. Look at the example of the young man that was killed now, Oladeji Johnson, may so rest in peace, by the NSAS. The fact is this: every Nigerian has a right to life, and nobody should deny you, as a citizen of Nigeria, your right to life. No, except in the case where there is a criminal case involved that you've been involved in, you've been convicted in a court of law, and then they've handed down that judgment. That is what it states in Section 33 of the Nigerian Constitution. But because we are not reading this constitutional right, the likes of the poor young man, Oladeji Johnson, may still rest in peace, was killed by 3 army officers, and the case is still ongoing right now. But because
the investigation is still going.
It's still ongoing. But here's the thing. It's interesting that when a Nigerian man, an ordinary Nigerian citizen, is found wanting or being arrested for something, they start making, you see videos of these guys on TV all over the place. But when a police officer is accused of the same thing, suddenly you don't hear any information about them. So as we speak, we don't know the names of the people, of the officers involved. But if it was a civilian, the name would have been plastered over the place. They would have been interviewed right in front of the TV. So these are the kind of systemic failure. I mean, there's something called the police. I wrote it down somewhere. There's a police report of some kind. It'll come back to me. The way the police are run was based on a 1940s, 1950s system of colonial policing that we had, and that has not changed till today. So the police are not following our constitution; they're following the colonial way, whereby they, and by inference, it means that they're looking at as Nigerians as people who they must control. Whereas, what happens is, if you're a Nigerian citizen, the police is supposed to serve your needs. So there's a subtle difference, and that impacts how our police have been trained. And there's also issue around, who is being brought into the police. So now, what I'm saying here is that people not being aware of their rights as Nigerians has deadly impact on us as citizens. And we have got to address that in every way, shape, or form. Again, and like I said, it's not the only answer to the problem. INEC is another issue. Our judiciary and our legislature, they are another issue. But the things that the people can do, this is what we, the people, can take care of. There's no point the people trying to get involved in judiciary, because that's higher level stuff. That's people who are already in the set group of people and who are going to try to deliberate how best to carry out our judiciary. But our people, if we people on the ground start getting involved in that constitutional awareness, telling our family and friends, making it, look, I want the churches. What are the churches doing to make people aware of their rights? What are they doing? What are the mosques doing? Are they holding weekly constitutional awareness in the church? I want to see that happen. I want to see the mosque holding constitutional awareness in the mosque alongside the church. If you want to pray, I don't mind you praying, but make your people aware of their rights. There's no point bringing up saying you're going to empower Nigerians, and you leave them in the hands of the very people who are supposed to protect, to serve them, to enslave them. It's no point. So there's a lot of soul searching we need to do. So for me, and the question you asked essentially was, is that the only answer? It isn't. It is part of. But there's a lot of stuff that we need to do, and we need a societal reorientation in our nation. A societal reorientation from top to bottom. The idea of what it means to be wealthy. What does it mean? Is it meaning that you having money in your pocket and you being able to buy 4 or 5 houses? Or does it mean that if your environment in which you are existing, if it has the infrastructure that you need, and so you have healthcare, you have good roads, you have hospital, you have water, you have sanitization, Is that the idea of wealth? So we start, because right now our idea of wealth in Nigeria is me making the money, me buying the houses, not worrying about the infrastructure to service these houses that I'm going to have, not worrying about the health care for my family and friends. So that idea, we have to change a lot of things. But essentially, for me, yes, it's part of the solution. It's not the only thing.
Thank you very much indeed. Looking at this, you do mention about the churches and the mosque. Even I was thinking that maybe apart from the churches, maybe other non-governmental organizations is going. Are going. Have you reached out to some of these outlets that you
I've been talking to a few people. I'm in Nigeria, and I've taken some soundings. But what the churches, as soon as I start talking about constitution, it's like they switch off, because it's not. Many of them, what they are saying to me is, what I'm hearing back is, look, prayer is everything. And what I am saying,
by saying, believe that prayer could solve it.
Sorry?
You don't believe that prayer could solve
it? It's not whether or not I believe. It's what's on the ground. 58 years. We've been praying in Nigeria for 58 years, both as a Muslim and as a Christian. And I don't mean, look, when I say this, please, 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 it's important we understand this. Please, connection to the Most High is how I how I call it. It's so important for each and every one of us. Now, how we choose to do that, either be it Christian, be it Muslim, be it Babalawo, that's it for each and every one of us to do. So I'm not going to ridicule anybody's belief system. That's not what I'm saying here. But what I'm saying is, collectively, when we now look at what we've been doing with our prayers, has that moved our country forward? Has it? In all honesty, I mean, look in Rome, look in UK. Is it prayer that they rely on to get everything running? Or is prayer just something they do on the side and they focus on ensuring that the citizen and the system works properly? Let's compare like for like. This is what I'm talking about. I'm not here to sort of say, oh, just get rid of that. That's not religion. No. What I'm saying is that we need to really think of how we are going to make our country work. At the minute, it isn't working. It isn't functioning. So for me, in a sense, I don't think prayer. Okay, certainly. Let me put it this way: prayer alone. If we just pray like we're doing,
there is a popular belief that prayer could move a mountain.
I'm going to be on that issue. It's possible, but I believe that if the people who are trying to move the mountain, if they pray first and they join forces together, they can move that mountain. They join forces together, they can move that mountain, right? because they put the prayer first. Fine. Well, what we are lacking in Nigeria is that we've put our effort and emphasis on prayer, but the effort required with it is missing in many parts of our nation. Because you would go to churches, people will pray, they will go and pray. People are going from work to church, from church to work. Sometimes they don't even go home, and maybe they go home on a Friday and then they go back on the day Sunday. In Nigerian churches, people will go to church and pray for 4 hours, and they will give money. But these same people who are giving money and giving tithes, and this is from where they have not even been paid for months on end. If you go to their houses, they haven't got lights, they haven't got good roads, they haven't got good schools. So what's the essence behind your prayer? What are you trying to pray for? What is the end game? Is it not part of getting your life forward? It should be part of those things. Should be giving you results that you can see. We're not seeing the results in our nation. We aren't, and that's the question we need to really be addressing. And that's why, again, I come to this thing of in the UK, for example, they've said, and please, when I say this is just a report. What they've said is the people who are going to churches here it's down to something like 1 million, from the high of tens of millions before. So church is not the emphasis for them here. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily needs to be the case here in Nigeria. But what I'm saying is that if we begin to know our rights and know how to demand it, of course, go to church. And even the more reason, imagine if you manage to now get infrastructure in your place. You have roads, water, hospitals, schools, bridges, all these things in your area. There's more reason for you to go to church and be thankful then. But if you don't have those things, what have you got to be thankful for? What have you got to be thankful for? So I mean, I hope I'm really trying to give a balanced argument here, because I don't want people to think I'm anti-religion. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that in the system of governance we have now, there's overemphasis. Section 10 of our Nigerian Constitution states something. It says that no state government shall practice religion adopt any religion as a state religion.
Nigeria is a secular state.
It's a secular state, exactly. But what do you hear our governance saying to you? Let us pray. We will have 3-day prayer sessions when something goes wrong. We will have from a Muslim point of view, from a Christian point of view. But that shouldn't have anything to do with our governance. It shouldn't. You know, I mean, even the Senate, I'm so tired of Senate saying we put in a prayer motion in place. What's a prayer motion for what? How is that going to fix the lack of water, lack of light for people? How? So these are the kind of mental things that we need to address. Honestly, we need to go to the bottom of this stuff. If we want to fix our country, if we want to fix the lack of health care, I mean, they said that even in the federal capital territory, in Abuja, in the presidential palace, they said they put more, they put the healthcare system in place. They think they couldn't find anything to use for treating people with the amount of money they put in. So tell me how.
But who are to blame for all this?
Us, the people that we put in power are to blame, and those of us who put them in power, because we are not making sure that we know the questions to ask them if they go wrong. And that is why that constitution is so important. The Quran or the Bible will not tell you how to ask to hold the people you elected to office to account. They won't. It won't tell you that. But if you know your constitutional rights, and you know that you can demand, you can call, or you can recall a senator, you can recall a governor, you can recall any of those people, and by following the constitution and asking them questions where they fail, then you are empowered. But Nigerians aren't empowered because we don't know those rights, and we don't know how to apply those rights. So it goes back to that. For me, it is like a foundation. What we have in Nigeria, we have a house it's never been built on solid foundation. So of course that house will never be fully built. We are still at the foundation stage of Nigeria after 60 years. We are still at foundation. We have not built a layer upon layer of infrastructure. I mean, in the UK here, you can see infrastructure that was built in the 60s, in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s. You can actually see, you know, but in Nigeria, everything that was built now that we see, they are back to the 70s, they are back to the 60s. There's nothing of proper real development that you can see successive governments building on what the last one did. There is no incremental development going on. It's a stop, start. Oh, you know what, that guy did something, clear that out, I'm going to do something else. There is no improvement as you're going along. You can't. I mean, look at, we're talking about electricity. 4,000 megawatts of electricity for a nation the size of Nigeria, 200 million people. Yet, in South Africa, they got 50,000 megawatts. Okay, they have issues with theirs now. But what I'm saying is that there is nothing. $16 billion that was supposed to be used in the 80s. It's down the drain. Where is it gone? And we are busy talking about praying. How is praying going to solve that 16 billion? How?
Mr. Ogundimu, can you give me the assurance that this your project you are back upon to sanitize people, drawing people's awareness to Nigerian Constitution? 2023 now is another 4 years this time. May God spare our lives. Are you giving me assurance that this your project could resolve some of these enormous problems that we have in Nigeria?
I can't give you my 100% assurance that it will.
How many percent are you giving?
But what I can give you, let's just say, look, you see, Rome, I mean, I don't like saying it, but they say Rome wasn't built in a day. But what I'm saying to you is if we start now, if we start now,
I started.
I started. I'm already, I do a show every Tuesday and Thursdays. People can join me. Tuesdays, 12 to 2.
Can I hold you responsible in 2023 if I haven't seen any significant?
Well, it is not, look, let's not make this a personal thing to myself alone, because this is a job for all of us.
You said you reach out to people.
I've reached and I'm continuing to reach out. Yes, I intend to, and I hope people can join me. I'm looking for people who are going to get involved. Please, I'm calling out to the government. If you are serious about building a Nigeria that works, get in touch Not myself alone.
Is there any way, have you making any have you ever made any form of contact with the government, people in power?
I mean, I've been talking to, I'm speaking to somebody that's with the ruling party at the minute, and he's put me in touch with somebody else. And there's a governmental body that I tried to get in touch with. Unfortunately, they haven't got back to me. That's the other issue as well. When you get in touch with the government of Nigeria, unfortunately, what tends to happen is it's just like, okay, you send out the reply, your request, and nothing comes back. So this idea of the people in government have got to want here's someone like myself and many others. There's a guy called Agent of Change as well. We are crying out to get engaged with getting a better country. But if you keep ignoring us, the job is more difficult. This is something that our government, in actual fact, our government in truth, they are the ones who are tasked to be ensuring. It says in our government, in our constitution, that it's the duty of the government to ensure the participation of the people in their own governance. This is in our constitution here, and these are but our government, they're doing everything to keep Nigerians away from knowing their constitution. So, and we are taking that on. The least they could do is, at least when we reach out to them, they reach out back to us so we can begin to build this process. It's a two-way street. But I mean, I can't put it any clearer than that. Myself personally, if things didn't happen, didn't improve from where we are now, I'll be personally disappointed. But this is not about me alone. I want Nigerians to think of this as this is your personal project to build not only your country, but your community, to be able to go back home. Imagine if you go to Nigeria, where you come to the airport is clean, there's electricity, there's water, there's light. You don't have to worry about safety. You can go to your home, you can go to your family and friends, and you know that they're secure, they've got health care. That's the kind of nation we want to build. But we cannot build it on prayers. We need collective action. CitizenAY is asking you, download the Nigerian Constitution. Go to www.citizenay.org. Download it, read it, share it among your friends and family. If you can, join us. We're trying to make sure that we will provide pamphlets of the Constitution in our languages, Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, and the other languages as time follows, to share among Nigerians, to begin to empower us. We don't need to have to speak English for us to know our rights. We can do this. We have the solution. Never believe that there is no solution to the problem we have. But is there the will to put that solution in place? That's the question which we're asking us. Do we have that will? And we should start demonstrating that we have the will to put that solution in place. Because if we empower people to know their rights, they will do the rest. I firmly believe that.
Thank you very much indeed. Why I can see regarding them, this other political party, as I said, I would like to have an advice for you that maybe I know you are prominent among one of these new one that it could be a better advice perhaps if these parties could come together. Just don't allow that because election has gone now and every other party is advancing their thing. I would advise that you should try as much as possible. If your party could reach out to others, then you work together. There will be some kind of, even your own man, tell him that everybody sees his effort, he has played significant, he tried, we all commenting, but still yet, they shouldn't allow things to rest the way it is. So, do you think that there's anything going on, perhaps any...
There are discussions. Each party, post these elections now, because of what has happened, like I said again, and I have to say to Nigerians, unfortunately, we did not have an election. It's a selection. That's my standpoint, and I remain that nothing will change that. Putting that to one side, what will now happen is a lot of parties are looking at themselves. They are doing a sort of review of what happened and what they could do better. And maybe at that point, maybe after that, maybe they could then have a mutual discussion at a party level to discuss how to do this. And I'm hoping, and in fact I encourage it, it's a good idea. It's something that we shouldn't rubbish, because as it stands now, we are nowhere. What we ended up with now is the main party, the main party and then the opposition party, in power in both cases. So nothing has changed in the demographics of Nigeria in terms of our elections. Nothing has changed. We are still as we were. To make the impact and to make that change, yes, a lot of discussion will have to take place among the new parties, genuine discussions. If anybody is going to go and talk on the behalf of what somebody from the minority, from the opposition party or the main party says, then let's not even have that discussion, because then we are doing the same thing. We're doing a rerun. But this has got to be, there has to be a demonstrable independence by any of the young new parties of their true independence, that they will not be swayed by somebody talking from the main party or the oppositional party about how, as to the direction of how they're going to run their campaign. And there also, there's an issue that we need to discuss at some point. The INEC and maybe the government, the funding of political parties is a major problem in Nigeria. And that's one of the things that it's a major problem, because many people who are going into governance, they're going in, taking in a lot of money, which they start paying before they start looking at the people. They start servicing the people. So these are the kind of undertones that we should really be looking at. How are we funding a party? Is there transparency? How do we know that the money that both the main party and the opposition party, how do we know that the money they got was not something to do from the government? Is there transparency? How much did they declare at the beginning? How much did they spend at the end? You know, can we track it? Those are the kind of things we need to be having in place. But we don't have that. We just hear discussion about, okay, we're having funding for INEC to do the elections, but there's no transparency. There's a lot more questions. But because if people begin to know their constitutional rights, they can begin to ask the questions at local level. And that can really set things going.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayo Ogundimu. Before we draw the curtain, before we come to the end of this program, I want you to advise our teaming viewers, Nigerian electors, regarding some of the things that has happened during the election. Let create people's awareness to your program, and let people know the website. So that is the shot before we draw the curtain.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please, I urge you, on my website, it's called www.citizenay.org. And on there, the first thing you will see, you click on it. Once you type it in, the Nigerian Constitution is it's on a green button. Just click on that. You will download the Nigerian Constitution. Right now, the main focus of that website is to try and spread the knowledge of the Nigerian Constitution, because far too many Nigerians are not aware of their rights. Now, I know it's only currently in English. At some point, I'm hoping that we can be able to translate it to the 3 main languages: Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo. Again, on the same website, www.citizenay.org. I also have a group. It's called the CitizenAY Constitutional Awareness Action Group. In that group, every Tuesday and Thursdays, we read the Nigerian Constitution from 2 to 4 p.m. We spend a constitutional hour, and 1 hour reading this Constitution, the other hour talking about the things in the Constitution and how it impacts our lives. And there's one more thing I want you all to know. This Constitution impacts every part of your life. There is nothing that you want to mention that happens in Nigeria that you cannot trace back to the rules and responsibilities that are laid down in our Constitution. So it is important that you know that, so that when you go to any parastatal, any government official, you have that in your hand. You can tell them, under this section of the Nigerian Constitution, you are supposed to provide me with free healthcare. 17.3D, 3C states that. Why aren't you providing me with healthcare? As a governor, as a president, as a minister, you can hold them to account. But if you don't read this information, we will never have an infrastructure that we're all praying for. So please, I ask you, join me. Join me on CitizenAY. Join CitizenAY on Facebook, on my website, www.citizenay.org, on YouTube. Spread the awareness of the Constitution. And please, those who are also doing similar things to myself, let's partner together. I want people, I will hopefully at some point beginning to be asking for funds to help us raise some funds to start beginning to publish books, this Constitution in pamphlets, small pamphlets, preferably in our local languages, Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, that we can begin to hand out on the ground in Nigeria, because we need to reach people on the ground. Yes, I know we have data and everything else, but some people haven't got money for data. So we need to factor that in. The information that we're doing now online is good, and we're spreading that information, but we need to reach people on the ground who haven't got those funds. So anyway, that's what I'd like to say. I hope that's...
Thank you very much. On this note, this is where we are going to draw the curtain of this program today. By the grace of God, next week when we come with a new edition of this program, my name is Oladeji Dawodu. I thank all your viewers who have actually been with us, who have been with us since when we began, and also just to remind you, we are still in the mood of our 2nd year anniversary of Heritage Television here in London. We thank everybody. We thank all our teaming advertisers, our supporters, our fans, and those who are actually being with us in the last 2 years, who are giving us the support that we needed. We enjoy you to continue giving us that support that we need. Until next week, God bless you. Bye.
Wow! Here is a good information for everybody. Have the taste of fruit in different form at your parties, event, church program, or social engagement like wedding, birthday, conference in your house, and lots more. Fruit cocktails, fruit arrangement, fruit palm tree, smoothie, fruit basket decoration, fruit kebab, and lots more at Sweet Art Fruit Company. Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, ní gbogbo ibi tí a bá ti ń ṣe àríyá, ìgbéyàwó, ọjọ́ ìbí, àjọ̀dún ilé ìjọsìn, níbi afẹ́ tàbí ibi ìgbádùn àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ, ẹ kàn sí Sweet Art Fruit ní èyíkéyìí ohun tí ẹ bá fẹ́ kí wọ́n fi fruit dálẹ́rà fún yín bíi fruit cocktail, fruit arrangement, fruit palm tree, smoothie, fruit basket decoration àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Níbikíbi tí ẹ bá wà, ẹ lè kàn sí wa lórí ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí 079-442-78530 or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all social media platforms at Sweet Art Fruit. Oluwaseun Akishoun is the CEO of Sweet Art Fruit. Patronize us at Sweet Art Fruit today. You will be glad you business with us.
My daughter-in-law. So how are you planning for my son's birthday? I have to cook for her. Do you people have ogirisi there? No. It's okay. Okay, let me call you back. Mama Chiji, okay. Hi, sir. Wait a market. Please pack some ogirisi. I am going to visit my son. My daughter-in-law. It's arranged, but you must use original red oil to prepare the soup. What? I'll call you back. Mama Chijo, please include Isio Morocco. My daughter-in-law. Everything is now set. But don't forget that gold wristwatch I saw the last time I visited.
Now you can talk until you tire for just 11 kobo a second. Call all networks in Nigeria and 30 international destinations, including US, UK, China, Canada, and India for just 11 kobo per second. Dial *211# to activate.
That's Silk Boo-Boo.
The largest data network, Glow, grandmasters of data.
Heritage Television. Promoting African culture and heritage at its best. From talk shows that concern you to both local and international news that relates to you. From grassroots football to African children's programs. Heritage Television. We cover your social and special events like weddings, birthdays, church anniversaries, and so on, and broadcast them live on our apps and online. Heritage Television, broadcasting everything about culture and heritage. Heritage Television. We've got it covered. Do download our apps on both Android, iOS, and Windows mobile platform. Heritage Television, your very own TV station.
Tolu A. Akinyemi, a renowned poet, author, and performer, brings to us Dead Cats Don't Meow, a metrical masterpiece which invokes love and respect for life. Dead Cats Don't Meow is his first published work and third collection in his poetry for the Discerning series, after Dead Lions Don't Roar and Dead Dogs Don't Bark. Tolu shares his gift of writing with people far and wide. Recently, he received an endorsement as a writer with exceptional talent from the Arts Council, England. Each poem examines a part of life, a sensation, a reaction, or an emotion. Individually, the verses breathe their own beat, while the collection knits together perfectly to present an idyllic anthology. Dead Cats Don't Meow is written to help you find your own voice in a world with a cacophony of voices. Join Tolu A. Akinyemi at one of the 4 events to celebrate the launch of Dead Cats Don't Meow. Thursday, April 4, 2019, 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at the Poetry Cafe, the Poetry Society, 22 Betterton Street, Covent Garden, London. Saturday, April 13th, 2019, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Museum Center, Function Room, 8 and 9 Marina Road, Onikan, Lagos, Nigeria. Thursday, May 2, 2019, 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. The Lead and Feel, 23 Westgate Road, Newcastle upon Tyne. Thursday, May 9, 2019, 5:45 p.m. to 7:15 p.m. The Avenue Library and Learning Center, 9 Victoria Avenue East, Blackley, Manchester. RSVP, tolutoludo.com. Dead Cats Don't Meow is available at Waterstones, Barnes & Noble, eBay, Amazon, Patabar, and other outlets.